Kennedy and Hawley are pissed here, and for good reason. The Biden DOJ was caught dead to rights, weaponizing the DOJ, levels we've never seen before. From spying on sitting senators to turning political prosecutions into warfare. Lawfare. What you're about to hear isn't theory. It happened.
Look, nobody's blameless here. I remember when this nonsense started under President Biden. And I remember thinking, they have unleashed spirits they cannot control. This has got to stop.
Mr. Dew, if I could just start with you. I've noticed that you've been asked a number of questions about hypotheticals, about political interference. What would happen if so-and-so tried to interfere in an investigation? What would happen if you were asked to pursue politically motivated ends? What would happen if you were asked to pursue or launch a politically motivated investigation? So, let me just ask you about a non-hypothetical, just to get your response, something that actually happened. Like, for example, the United States Department of Justice seeking to track the cell phones of 8 members of the United States Senate without any criminal predicate, without any notice to any senator, multiple of whom sit on this committee, including myself, without any legal process to the senator targeted whatsoever. They tracked all incoming calls to our phones, all outgoing calls to our phones, all metadata associated with the calls, including location, the duration of the calls. Does this sound appropriate to you? Does this sound like appropriate behavior for the Department of Justice to be engaged in?
Senator Hawley, I appreciate the question, and I'm noticing the panel's asking me a lot. I'm happy to share with my colleagues as we keep going in this discussion. But, sir, what I think you're talking about is issuing a grand jury subpoena for cell phone records. And in any investigation, you better have, pursuant to the Justice Manual, specific and articulable facts about why you're doing that. If you do not have that and you cannot articulate those facts under 18 U.S.C. 2703, that subpoena does not get served.
You know, the other thing that's interesting about this context, and I appreciate your answer, is that the records that they sought to track and trace and tap, the devices that they sought, are in the possession of senators pursuant to their constitutional duties. 2 U.S.C. Section 6628A specifically says that those records do not become the possession of cell phone companies. They don't become the possession of Verizon or AT&T or whomever. They are retained by the senator's office. Why? Because these devices are used pursuant to the speech and debate responsibilities of senators. Yet the Justice Department did not inform senators, did not seek from our offices these records. They went instead ex parte to the telephone companies, got the records apparently, again, with no criminal predicate that we know about, no process whatsoever. It is a grotesque violation of statutory law and also the separation of powers, particularly the speech and debate clause. Here you have an executive branch directly spying on members of the legislative branch while they are performing their constitutional duties. Let me just ask you, Mr. Dew, does this sound like something we want to normalize? I mean, is this something you'd like to see the current Justice Department doing on a regular basis? I mean, should they be tracking the cell phone records of everybody down here on the left side of the dais? Would that be a good thing for the country?
Clearly no, Senator.
Clearly no. Clearly no. I can't tell you what an outrage I think this is, and so it's just a little bit hard for me to stomach sitting here and listening to be asked about all of these various hypotheticals. This isn't a hypothetical. This happened. It happened, and so far there have been exactly 0 repercussions for it. And I just want to say that if my colleagues are serious about stopping political weaponization of the Justice Department, why don't we start with this right here? Why don't we find out who authorized this? Why don't we find out what laws, if any, were broken? Why don't we appoint a special prosecutor to go after this and get to the bottom of it? And I will just reiterate my calls for this committee to do full oversight hearings on exactly what happened as part of this weaponization, as part of this, I think, both illegal and unconstitutional targeting of United States senators in their constitutional responsibilities. At the same time, the same Justice Department was also targeting, we now know, thanks to whistleblowers, 92 separate conservative organizations, including Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA, a campus organization. Why? I guess because it was conservative. I mean, This is the most unbelievable abuse of the Justice Department that I've not only seen in my lifetime, that I've ever read or heard about in our country's history, because it's not one little thing, it's an entire pattern. This is the same Justice Department that sent a SWAT team to the home of a pro-life demonstrator. This is the same Justice Department and FBI that tried to recruit informants into Catholic parishes. This is the same Justice Department that targeted the chief political opponent of the then sitting president for prosecution to try to keep him off of a ballot. I mean, it is unbelievable. And I hope that my colleagues agree. I hope we can all agree. We cannot allow this to become the norm. And I hope, Mr. Duva, if you are confirmed, you will do your part in the criminal division to make sure that the resources of this powerful, powerful agency are used for good, to protect the American people, protect the rule of law, to put violent criminals away, not to prosecute the political agendas of some politician somewhere. Thanks for being
I will, Senator. Thank you.
Justice Crane, we elect judges in Louisiana, do we not?
We do.
And we have elected judges, our people have decided to elect judges for a long, long, long time, haven't they?
As long as I can research, yes.
Are you responsible for that system of choosing judges?
Not at all.
When you run for judge, can you solicit campaign contributions?
You cannot.
You've run 3 times.
I have.
Have you ever solicited a campaign contribution?
I have not.
You have to go through a committee, do you not?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, one of my colleagues, not Senator Welch, suggested that you live in the left front pocket of the oil and gas industry. Is that true?
That is absolutely not true, Senator.
Do you live in anybody's left front pocket?
The only pocket I live in is the rule of law, Senator. And I think that my record reflects that.
That's certainly been my experience. I just wanted to clear that up.
Thank you, Senator.
Mr. Duva, you've heard the expression lawfare, have you not?
Yes, sir.
What does that mean to you?
Well, I think lawfare gets to the alleged weaponization of the Justice Department and things.
What does that mean?
Well, it's a term that's been used quite a bit. I think it means that the Justice Department becomes the tool of a sitting president or the Congress or whoever to do its bidding and that only, and not follow the law, not follow the facts as applied to the law. What we will do is not do that. We will do the converse of that.
Why is that dangerous?
Because it leads to bias, it leads to improper prosecution, it leads to messes in courtrooms. There's a reason there's a justice manual. There's a reason that there is Rule 6E.
I don't want to talk about the manual. I want to talk about just basic human decency and common sense.
It also erodes the faith of the justice system and our citizens.
Okay.
That is dangerous because it is based on those citizens where the end result, the citizens become jurors. And we need jurors to have confidence in the Justice Department and the prosecutions that it brings and to fairly evaluate cases.
Let me put it this way. Our judicial branch doesn't have an army, does it?
It does not.
Okay. Our judicial branch at the federal and the state level depends on its legitimacy for enforcement. I mean, people have to believe that justice, even though they may disagree with the result, people have to believe in the integrity of the system, do they not?
They do, because as I mentioned with jurors, if they don't and they're selected on a jury, they're not going to follow the judge's instructions to evaluate the cases based on the facts and the law. So it depends on the citizens to help us with the end result. And if that's eroded on the front end, it's eroded on the back end.
All right. If I'm a candidate for district attorney and I run for district attorney saying, if you elect me, people, I'm going to prosecute Joe Blow, a well-known political figure. Is that lawfare?
It is. That's inappropriate.
That undermines the integrity of the criminal justice system, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
That suggests that justice isn't blind, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Now, look, nobody's blameless here. I remember when this nonsense started under President Biden. And I remember thinking, they have unleashed spirits they cannot control. This has got to stop. Now, I'm a United States Senator. I'm also on the Appropriations Committee. I have influence over your budget, don't I?
You do, sir.
And let's suppose I tweet out, I'm really mad at Joe Blow, and I think the Justice Department ought to prosecute him. Do I have the right to do that under the First Amendment? I'm not asking you whether it's wise. I'm asking you whether I have a right.
You do. You can tweet as long as it's nonviolent. You can tweet whatever thought you want.
You have the right to ignore me, don't you?
Absolutely.
All right, let me ask you about being a prosecutor. I've never been a prosecutor. As a prosecutor, you have a moral obligation to yourself and to the criminal justice system not to bring a criminal prosecution unless you think the defendant is guilty. Is that accurate?
Yes, in the Justice Manual, you have to have the reasonable
I don't care about the manual.
probability
I'm
of
talking
conviction.
about common human decency. Is that correct?
Yes, you have to know you have it.
Is that a principle that you agree with?
100%.
Okay. And you not only have to believe that the defendant is guilty, you have to believe that you can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, do you not?
You do. You have to have the facts. Without the facts, you have nothing.
Okay. Is that a principle that you possess?
I do, and that's how I've operated for 18 years.
Okay. And you also have to believe, do you not, that the prosecution is in the public interest? Is that correct?
You do.
Okay. Now, if one of your superiors came to you, well, let me answer the question for you for how I would do it. If one of my superiors came to me and said, look, you got to prosecute this case, and I looked at it, and either I didn't believe that the defendant was guilty, or I didn't believe I could prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, or I thought it was not in the public interest because it would undermine the integrity of the criminal justice system, I would resign.
You would decline the matter.
Sir?
You would decline the matter for sure.
Right. And if they told me, if my superior said, look, Kennedy, what planet did you just parachute in from? You don't have a choice. I'm your boss. I'm telling you to do it. I would resign. How about you?
I have no problem doing that. I would first just say, we're not doing this case, and here's all the reasons, and the discussion could go from there.
Okay. And if you were told to do it or quit, what would you do?
I'd quit.
Okay. Would you ever advise a client not to follow a federal court order?
No, sir.
I appreciate that. Appreciate you not qualifying it. If it's okay to disagree with a federal judge ruling, isn't it?
I often have.
Yep. It's okay to appeal it.
Absolutely. We have an appellate section. It's one of the best sections in the criminal division.
Within the bounds of legal ethics, it's okay to criticize it, isn't it?
Yes, internally.
But you got to follow it, don't you?
You do, absolutely.
Because that's called the rule of law, isn't it?
It is, and without that, you have anarchy and no confidence in the Justice Department.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate the frank answers.
Thank you, sir.
All right, gentlemen, this hearing is concluded. Thank you to the I got to read this, folks. Thank you to the nominees for your testimony today. Written questions for the record may be submitted until October the 29th at 5:00 p.m. Justice Crane, how many times has Judge Crane, your dad, texted you during this hearing?
Quite a number of texts and phone calls.
I served with Justice Crane's father. He's just one of the best judges I've ever seen. Thank you for your patience today, and thanks for everybody. And thanks to all the audience members for sitting through this. This hearing is adjourned.